of course, 2002, I have to ask about that Game 6, the Western Conference Finals. For those who are listening, who are maybe younger and they don't remember, there were a lot of questionable calls. I specifically remember the one where they called a foul on you when you were guarding Shaq, and it looked like you didn't even touch him. And then they shot 15 more free throws than you. Tim Donaghy, this official who got busted for being tied with the mob and influencing games, that he was betting on games he was officiating, he comes forward and he says that that game was fixed by the association. They wanted it to go to 7 games. They wanted the Lakers. Now, Tim Donaghy, given what he did, maybe not the most reputable source, but I'm curious what was going through your head in that game, as you guys were on the short end of many, many calls.
It was hard to overcome that, and really we had a hangover from that game into Game 7, and so there's a couple ways I want to answer it. First of all, I want to say we earned home court advantage throughout the playoffs. We had Game 7 at home, and we crapped the bed. We had the honor of going back after Game 6 and playing in front of the best fans in the world at the time, in our home arena, and take care of business in Game 7, and we didn't. We played terrible that game. Now, you can call it a hangover from Game 6 because we couldn't get over that we were playing against 8 people on the court, but we still should have won Game 7. No matter what happened in Game 6, you can talk about the conspiracy, you can talk about all that stuff, but we still had Game 7 and we failed. So I will always say we had Game 7, whatever you think about Game 6. Now, Game 6, it was ugly. It wasn't fair. It didn't seem right. There were too many examples, and I don't even have time to go into all of them, but there's too many examples of things that were not right about that game. There's just no way that Vlade Divac, Chris Webber, Scot Pollard, and Lawrence Funderburk, the 3 of us fouled out. Lawrence ends up guarding Shaq at the end of the game. Lawrence Funderburk, 6'9", 240 pounds, dripping wet. Like, he can't guard Shaquille O'Neal. Not his fault. It's a size thing. And 3 of us foul out, and Shaq's still in there with 2 fouls. That's impossible. That's just impossible. You will never see an NBA game where 3 big men foul out on one team and the other one only has 2 fouls. They tend to balance out, typically, because they want things to look normal. Now, as far as Tim Donaghy's comments, I will say he says some things that are absolutely factual that I know from every year I was in the NBA. At the beginning of the year, the referees would come in and talk to us about the focuses for the season. Guys have been carrying the ball a lot. We're gonna hit you on training camp. We're gonna call it too much because we want you to get used to it so that it doesn't become a problem in the regular season. Guys, you've been traveling too much. We're gonna, whatever it is. They came in and they gave us this speech, and they would ref the preseason games more tight to get us used to what they were told by the league office to focus on. Speaking of, that's where kind of Tim Donaghy's correct factual statements come into play. Every game, every referee gets an email with highlights they did well on and things that they messed up on. So let's say you're heading into Game 6 and you just refed a different game. You didn't ref Game 5, but they send you some clips of Shaq posting up 3 seconds in the key. And they say to the referees, keep an eye on that because he's been getting away with too many 3 seconds in the key. You go into Game 6, and all of a sudden Shaq has 3 turnovers in the first half or the first quarter because it's in your head. It's not the NBA saying, hey, make sure the Lakers lose, make sure that the Kings win. It's them saying in a very legal and defendable way, well, look, we showed video evidence of Shaq spending 3 seconds in the key too many times, and that's all we were doing is trying to keep our referees accountable. So they can defend themselves. The NBA league office can defend themselves against any allegations of impropriety because that's a matter of practice among the Referees Association. They do that every game. So again, when you plant a nugget in a human's mind, and you happen to have the correct referees that are used to getting those nuggets and taking that cue from the league office, I get what's going on here. They don't have to spell it out. They don't have to say, make sure the Lakers win so we can go to 7 games. All they have to do is say, the Kings big men have been fouling a lot of people lately. Keep an eye on that. and all of a sudden, Chris Webber, Vlade Divac, and Scot Pollard foul out in one game, which has never happened before or since.
And that, would you say that is corrupt or not corrupt?
Look, as I just tried to explain, I don't think it's overtly corrupt, but I also believe that there are factual policies in place to hopefully guide series into 6 and 7 games, because that makes more money. So I wouldn't say, yeah, the mob controls it, but I think it's good for every single NBA owner if every single series goes 7 games. And as long as the correct team wins, what's the harm in it making it go 7 games? It's just that in 2002, the correct team didn't win, or did they? Because the Nets were waiting on us, and nobody was watching the Nets that year.
No.
Not their fault, but nobody was watching the Nets. And is the Kings, one of the smallest markets in the NBA, playing the Nets in the NBA Finals, going to get the ratings that the Lakers and the Nets are going to get? No, they aren't. So then you can start going in the conspiracy road, and I don't do that.
Right.
I just talk about what I know factually. Those NBA referees get emails before and after every game, things they should focus on, things they should have done. And this is straight from them telling us every single year in the preseason that is how they are operating. And so that right there tells you it's really easy to put a nugget in a human's mind going into a game. I should probably keep an eye on this. That's not overtly trying to control it. It's covertly putting a nugget in a human's mind, and humans make mistakes.
Do you think there's any of that in Survivor?
Oh, absolutely. It's reality TV. So the way they get you in Survivor is the testimonials. That's the only time you're alone with the camera rolling. And it's the only time a producer talks to you. No other time are you spoken to other than you're locked down because there's no cameras on, so they call it lockdown. All you're allowed to do during lockdown is sit there and look at the ground. And there's producers watching you to make sure you're not interacting with something, because they don't want any gameplay to happen without them catching it on camera. Testimonials are the only time that you're on camera but alone with no other cast members can hear you, and there's a producer directly asking you questions. So that was my game, and I think that's how I got so far, is I would watch people leave for testimonial. If it was my good buddy and we had a good relationship and they go to testimonial and they come back and they're not looking me in the eye, the producer got to him. The producer is saying, "You sure you can trust Scott? You sure? Because he said this about that." Because they tried to do it to me too. They would say, Jason was saying this to blah, blah, blah. And or Ty said this to blah, blah, blah. Are you sure you can trust him? Because they try to make sure that the game veers in and out, so it's watchable. If everything happens according to plan, how fun is that to watch?
Yeah.
Is it exciting if nobody throws all the tools in the forest and hides them from somebody and then puts the fire out? Is that exciting television? Yes, it is. If nobody does anything like that, and everybody just goes, "Hey, we have a deal," and we just, nobody backstabs anybody or blindsides in the tribal, then it's a boring TV show. So of course they get you in the testimonial, and the producer specifically. And if nobody cracks, you all go back. And that's how we knew. We would talk about it, and they would say, "Shh, stop." But if they said, "Oh, hey, we have to do another round of testimonials," I would laugh. I'd be like, "Oh, so everybody wants to stick to the plan. All right, hey guys, try to stick to the plan." Because that's the only reason we would go. We'd go testimonial round, and you have to wait for everybody to go. And if they said, "Okay, we're going to do another round of testimonials," it's because they didn't get what they wanted. The producers did not get the shift that they wanted the direction of the game to go. And so people don't know that, and that's fine. And that's why people are like, "Oh my gosh, this guy was such a jerk," or "This girl was such a bitch," whatever, It's intentional, and it's because it's reality TV. It's got to be exciting. It's got to be, "Oh, I never saw that. Oh my gosh, that girl said that. I can't believe that. Oh, totally flipped on their whole tribe. I can't," that's what makes it exciting, and that's what gets the ratings. And so, once you understand that, then you can understand kind of what I was talking about earlier, which is the 3 days being compressed into one hour episode, 40 minutes of airtime, and your character gets 10 to 15 minutes max of that 40 minutes. It's pretty easy to splice all that together and take out everything that one person said that was smart and make them look stupid. You can do that to pretty much every human being on the planet. In the last 3 days, all of us have said some not so smart things, or some really intelligent things, or some not so funny things, or some funny things. And when you have that footage and you can edit it down, again, we said everything we said, we did everything we did. I am not blaming the edit. I'm just trying to explain the edit. It's more exciting thinking that Scot Pollard, retired NBA player, is a jerk than it is him being a nice guy and everybody getting along and everybody thinking, oh, he might win the game, so we got to vote him out. It was a lot easier to get me voted out when I was portrayed as a villain than if they had shown me singing the Cambodian chicken plucking song and, making everybody laugh with jokes and singing all the time. They couldn't have me singing because I kept singing Frank Sinatra songs, and they run over like, shut up, we don't have the rights to those songs. I'm like, over here, you guys are doing testimonials over there. They're like, your voice is huge, we can hear you across the island. So then I had to start making up songs, and they had to edit those out too, because they would hear me singing in the background, and again, that didn't fit with the character I was being edited as. So they had to tell me to stop singing too. So there was a whole lot of things in there. Again, loved it, had a blast, laughed my ass off most of the time I was on the island. Never was in fear of actual sickness. Never was in fear of actually dying, nor was anybody else. There were some tough times, but some of us have been through way worse stuff and actually lost people that matter. And so when you're talking about me being on an island in paradise and being paid to be there, I had an amazing vacation. I lost 46 pounds in 28 days. I need to kind of go on the Survivor diet right now. I could use that.
I can do that too, man. I would love that. I'd just love to fast forward 40 days. I'm 20 pounds lighter. That'd be great.